Hello, welcome to a new episode of Talk Turkey. In this episode, we're talking about a possible or impossible softening of the Turkish politics. Hi, Murat.
Hi, Nevşin. I mean, after the local elections, actually, we argued that the results would have consequences beyond the local level, and it seems to be happening. That's why today we'll discuss this. I mean, we can right away start with that. What's going on with the AKP, and what is this political softening strategy all about?
Yes. I mean, I think it started in the very election night, 31st of March, basically. Yes, CHP won landslide, and Erdogan took it very wisely. I mean, he was very calm that very election night. He gave a speech congratulating the opposition and everything, and people were shocked because, you know, that's usually not his style. He attacks, he says nasty stuff, whatever, you know. But he was very mature and calculated and balanced, and actually that was a surprise for Turkish politics. And right after that, Erdogan started saying, okay, so we need a new process of normalizing politics in Turkey. And he basically met with the main opposition leader, Özgür Özel, the new head of the new leader of CHP, which was also surprising because he never used to meet with Kılıçdaroğlu, the former head of CHP. They met like a couple of times, but then they were calling each other names and this and that. They were not, like, when they were in the same meeting, they were barely saying hi. They were like not talking. But now Erdogan says, okay, we need a new era. We need to open like a white page now in Turkish politics. So he started phrasing it as normalizing. You know, we need to normalize the relations, the politics in Turkey, and so on. And the answer from CHP has been balanced. Özgür Özel met with Erdogan in his in AK Party headquarters. And now soon, I think in a few days, Mr. Erdogan will go and meet with Özgür Özel in CHP also. And Özgür Özel, basically, he states that, yes, at the end of the day, Mr. Erdogan is the president of this country. I mean, now CHP is the first political party gaining the most votes right after the local election. That's what we see. It's normal that in normal politics we negotiate, we talk about stuff, be it economy, be it foreign policy. That's how it's supposed to be. But it doesn't mean that we're going to give in. We're going to stop, being an opposition party. That doesn't mean that. Of course, we will talk. Yes, we're for normalizing, but also we'll push for democratization. So, I mean, it's been pretty fast. Then things started taking off. There are quite a lot of political cases in Turkey, unfortunately. One is Osman Kavala case. Also, most of our European viewers are very well aware of that case. He's in jail with a sham trial, so to say. And also what happened in 2013, if you remember these Gezi protests, handful of people are accused of conspiring against the government during these Gezi protests. They're in jail. And a bunch of retired generals, they were in jail for this 28th of February case. It was called postmodern coup, like a few decades ago. They were put in jail, basically in a revanchist trial. So right after this Erdogan Özgür Özel meeting, basically a couple of weeks later, these pashas, basically retired generals who were held in prison in this 28th of February case, they were freed from prison, basically. I mean, semi-pardoned, I will not say pardoned, but they were freed from prison. And the government side, Erdogan did not say it himself, but they're signaling through their pundits and stuff. This is a part of the normalization process. So Mr. Erdogan is taking a step towards the opposition. But what does he want? Why does he do that? He does that because obviously, I mean, he's losing in the elections and inflation is still high, 75%. There is that. Erdogan realized that he needs international cooperation. Also, it cannot be like an isolated semi-North Korea Turkey. Turkish economy does not run like that. And polarization started making him lose because this was his winning game. Whenever there was polarization, he used to win the elections. But now it's like it has basically you cannot use this forever. Now polarization is not working for him. So he's trying to find another path. And obviously, one apparatus he's found is a new constitution. He started saying Turkey needs a new constitution. I don't know, we keep amending our constitution every 10 years. I'm quite bored and tired of that, honestly, because not much changes. Because, I mean, unless you comply with that, constitution is just a piece of paper, right? And anyway, so he found that title, let's renew the constitution and everything. So that's the basis for him to talk to the opposition and start a new era in Turkish politics, if he can. We'll see in the forthcoming days.
I mean, all goes back to one story, actually, and we have already discussed this several times, but AKP
can you fix your microphone, because it's touching your beard?
Is that better?
Yes, better now.
I mean, actually, the AKP is in decline, and that's happening for a long time. And this trend seems to be very difficult to reverse. So the AKP is trying really different things. The results of the local elections were just an indicator of this. I mean, also following the last year's presidential, the government tried different things. I mean, going back to the orthodox economic policy, for example, because they also understand that as one of the fundamental reasons that there is a declining trend. But also, as we discussed before, those economic issues cannot only be solved by changing economic policies. I mean, Turkey has a major image problem, and that's connected to, of course, democracy, rule of law, and predictability. So as long as those issues are not solved, it will be very difficult to change this. So this is also, I think, one of the reasons behind this political softening strategy. So as long as it doesn't generate major changes, though, I think it's very difficult to reverse this trend. I'm not sure if government fully understands this, because, okay, they are taking some steps, but are they really making Turkey more democratic? Are they really solving the issues in terms of rule of law in a permanent way? There are high doubts about it. I mean, of course, the rapprochement with CHP is rather positive, I believe. It's one of the main pillars of this strategy. As you mentioned, Özgür visited Erdogan. There was this meeting after 8 years. It's important to underline that. And if Erdogan visits CHP, is expected in the next days, it will be after 18 years. So I think these are important figures for our viewers to understand that maybe such things happen regularly in the West, in European countries, but not necessarily in Turkey, at least in this new Turkey under President Erdogan. So, as you mentioned, it's not only AKP's policy, though. I mean, the CHP's new leader, Özel, is also in favor of polarizing, reducing polarization. And he seems to be willing to try this. I mean, there's been also these meetings between ministers and shadow ministers of CHP in the last days. So there's this sort of dialogue going on. And Özel's logic is also very important, I think, because he believes that there's also responsibility for CHP to bring back the culture of dialogue and politics, because many people are criticizing him, but in a way, the government is here to stay. I mean, we still have 4 more years. Maybe such a dialogue can bring only very limited results, but probably it is still better than no dialogue at all. We should, of course, keep this in mind that it is limited to certain areas and certain political parties. I mean, the case of, for example, pro-Kurdish Dem Party's mayor in Hakkari and other issues, they still remain there, but it seems to be more limited, for example, to CHP, at least at the moment. One more point I think is very important, lastly, that this sort of dialogue is important also for the CHP's future too, because what we saw in 2023 elections is that some people, despite their concerns about AKP, they didn't support CHP because AKP has been demonizing CHP for such a long time. And this propaganda had a real influence, a real effect on people. So when these people see this rapprochement, President Erdogan's visit to CHP, dialogue between AKP and CHP, this can as well make CHP more acceptable for more people, even for some conservative voters. So I understand that some people are criticizing the chair of CHP for this approach, but in a way, I also understand the logic. I mean, there are risks and opportunities, but if CHP manages this process well, the CHP may even have more to gain from this. I don't know if you agree.
You totally have a point. I mean, so both CHP and AK Party is criticized within, because some criticize CHP for being an instrumental tool for AK Party in this hard times. Now Mehmet Şimşek, the new head of the economy, he's implementing these really tough austerity measures. And it's really tough days for Turkish middle class. So some people say, well, Özgür Özel being a tool right now, basically Tayyip Erdogan is playing them, because he makes it look like it's not. I mean, economy is not like in this current state because of AK Party, but also CHP is in the game. Europe, they're a part of this. They're a part of this austerity also. They're trying to make it look like that, and CHP is being played. So some people within CHP is criticizing this rapprochement policy. But like, for example, I was in Rome with Ekrem İmamoğlu, the Istanbul mayor of CHP. He's one of the top names of CHP. Probably he's going to be the CHP's presidential candidate in 2028. And actually, we asked him that, we were in Rome because Istanbul got the European Olympic Games, and there was a, signature ceremony and this and that. So that's why we were there. And then we had a chance to really talk to him thoroughly. So we asked him that, like, what do you think? Isn't AK Party playing you? He said, actually, no. He was very confident. He said, no, we are aware. We're not stupid, what they're trying to do. But actually, we're gaining from this, he said. He said, basically, listen, this normalization, the talking, like negotiations, make us win more votes. From the very point, actually, you're looking at the matter, it's very similar. Exactly. I mean, before, Erdogan used to call CHP a terrorist organization. They used to say, like, CHP is equals to PKK. So then CHP becomes a no-go for some of the AK Party voters who do not want to vote for AK Party anymore, right? Because you're a normal person on the street, you occasionally vote for AK Party, but you're apolitical. Maybe you could have considered, voting for the main opposition party, but then you remember, but these are terrorists, right? That's what used to happen. But now they're like, okay, Özgür Özel is talking to Erdogan, so it means they're not terrorists or anything. They are a legitimate, legal, normal political party. So why not vote for CHP either? And actually, Ekrem İmamoğlu said basically they forced, in a sense, AK Party to choose this path, because as soon as Ekrem İmamoğlu was elected, he also pushed for a period of talks to Erdogan. Right after he was elected in 2019, he said, okay, I'm now the mayor of the main city in Turkey, Istanbul. I want to talk to the president because Istanbul has real main problems. Let's solve these together. We are for cooperation. So he was underlining that, all the time. So they kind of prepared for this process also. But I mean, we'll see. But on the other hand, let's not forget, Turkey is led by a coalition. It's not called a coalition, but it's practically a coalition, in a sense, in this presidential system. And their main partner, AK Party's main partner, is MHP, the Nationalist Party. And Devlet Bahçeli, the head of this Nationalist Party, he is against any type of normalization, democratization, whatnot. He does not want that. He does not want this very system to change. Because, I mean, listen, he's a very interesting person. I was listening to his parliamentary group speech the other day. So he believes basically there's a conspiracy against Turkey from outside, and there are elements from within supporting that. They want to divide Turkey, and also Zionists want a part of Turkey. And if political parties weaken, or AK Party, MHP, if they weaken, I don't know, some people, some Israelis, some Kurds, I don't know whatnot, they're going to start conquering Turkey. And so they need to be standing strong. They shouldn't be played around, whatnot. I mean, these people, they genuinely believe in this, right? So, and Bahçeli does not want normalization. He does not want any talks with CHP. So here the question is, what is Erdogan going to do after that? Is he going to basically toss MHP in his coalition and continue his new path? Or is it going to be as it was before, basically, some talks, whatnot, leading nowhere, basically? We'll see.
I mean, MHP's approach, it's logical for them because this entire system has made AKP very dependent, actually, on MHP. They don't need to do much. They don't need to take any political risks. But they are, as you said, de facto part of this coalition. They are de facto ruling the country without taking any political risks, actually. So that's the ideal position. So I understand their position very well, that they prefer that AKP is actually remaining distant to other parties. There's no dialogue with other parties. So the CHP remains a central political power in the government. So that's one part of the story. But I also understand President Erdogan sees the risk as well. I mean, he understands that the AKP is now too dependent on MHP. That's why probably he's also trying to find a way out. But of course, it's very difficult at this stage. And we need to understand probably the political dynamics of post-local election Turkey as well, because CHP became #1 party. That was a historical moment. But we also see that that was not just for one local election. The trend continues as well. I mean, you have one of the latest opinion polls here that also we can see that CHP continues to be #1 party. Probably we should discuss a little bit about this too, because this is also one of the reasons actually behind all this new policies coming from the government.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is the latest poll from Metropol. Basically, you see they asked if there was elections this Sunday, who would you vote for? But like general elections for the parliament, basically. They did the poll right after the local elections, April. So you can see CHP is leading. We never saw that in the last 20 years. Never, ever. Even before that, CHP never led in any polls. But, because CHP has been changing also, that now there are, we discussed that before, there are the new young cadres. They're really full of energy and full of new ideas. Head of CHP is touring Turkey. He's like all over the place. He was in Rize defending the tea producers' rights. Then he was in Ankara doing this big rally for the pensioners, because pensions are really, really low in Turkey because of this inflation and austerity measures and whatnot. So he's all over the place. He's listening to everyone, talking for everyone. There is that. So I think people are seeing that. And on the other hand, Erdogan is older, basically. He does not have the energy. He's just, he's a different level. And so, yeah, that's what we see, basically. CHP is leading, and you can see in, for example, 14th of May, AK Party got 35% of the votes, CHP get 25% of the votes. When basically there are the undecided. In today's poll, the undecided is around 11%, and protests is like 15%, 6% is not answering. So this shows actually undecided being really high. Shows you that actually polarization is diminishing. That comes to basically our point, the point that we mentioned before. When the polarization diminishes, then the opposition gains strength, because then in a polarizing environment like in the United States, no matter what, people vote for the party they have been voting for. They don't change their mind. It's a very polarized atmosphere. But then as the polarization diminishes, you can change your mind. Basically, you can say, okay, I've been voting for this party for this long, but why not change my mind, go for the others, let's try the others for this time and everything. So I think that's the trend we're seeing in Turkey. And actually, you can see the job approval rates of the political leaders done by the same polling company, Metropol. You can see Erdogan is at so you could see per month. Erdogan's job approval rate was 44.8% in February. In May, it's dropped to 39.6%. And Özgür Özel's have been risen to 54.9% from 30%. That's massive, So that shows you whatever Özgür Özel is doing is working right now. That's what shows us, basically. And you can see, I mean, I mean, if you want to go to the very core of this, because of the inflation, TÜİK, Turkstat, they released the inflation rate 75% for May. The annual inflation rate. I mean, it's massive. So you can imagine how it's like in Turkey. And they ask people, do you think it's actually higher than what the official statistics institute declare? And 61% think, yeah, it's probably higher, because people have lost faith in the institutions, basically, and thus to existing politics, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the main opposition seems to be doing rather well, but maybe at the very last part of the episode, we can discuss a little bit about like what they do and what they can do also better. Probably they are doing quite well in terms of setting the agenda. That's also important, because President Erdogan has been dominating the scene for such a long time. But nowadays, the CHP is really coming up with different ideas, different problems and all, and they are becoming topical in the agenda as well. And good or bad ways. I mean, as we discussed, there are also many people, even in the opposition side, criticizing CHP and its leader. But at least CHP is making it to the news. I mean, both sides, both for the opposition and the other side. And at the local level as well, as we discussed, probably it's too early to discuss this, but they need to be making and showing some success stories as well. I mean, so far they've been doing well, okay. And the post-election, there were some rumors about like some people close, like family members and all, being appointed. But the CHP is also very serious about this, and they are also, I think, putting a lot of pressure on the mayors all around Turkey to do this well and to avoid such issues, which we are very used to from the AKP administration. So it is very difficult, of course, to do this, but I think CHP is very serious about creating a real control mechanism on mayors to make sure that they only show success stories, not the scandals. Maybe the missing element is still the foreign policy. I mean, the CHP is claiming that they want to rule the country in a few years, but their foreign policy is still a bit confusing. We don't know much about it. Also abroad, they don't really have a presence. I mean, just an example about Brussels, for example, after this local election victory of CHP, AKP is still the most active party in Brussels. Government delegations are coming here regularly. Ministers are here every week. Minister Şimşek was here, for example, mid-May for very high-level meetings. He also spoke at a very prestigious think tank. And this is all happening after CHP's local election victory. Where is CHP? Like, it shouldn't be AKP anymore, but CHP also coming to these key cities abroad, trying to tell their own story, but also establish sometimes, if they are serious about ruling the country in a few years. I think we are still missing this visibility of CHP, the perspective of CHP abroad. And I understand that there are different concerns too, but I believe that CHP should be nowadays more self-confident about really being more active abroad too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I see your point, but I think what they're trying to do is like, especially Palestine, Israel issue, I mean, this Gaza, whatnot, you know, very tricky and swampy, I'd say, topics for today's Turkish politics. So Ukraine, Russia also, yeah, it's pretty tricky. And it's very, they could have said one sentence and then it could be really useful. Erdogan and Bahçeli to basically resurrect polarization again. So probably that's why they're I'd say, relatively silent. But then Özgür Özel keeps saying, well, in our national matters, we have this bipartisan perspective. Basically, it doesn't matter, CHP, AK Party, whatever. If in terms of national security issues, we'll be supporting the Turkish state no matter what. So they have this stance. I think also that's what's gaining votes in today's Turkey. I mean, it's tricky. I mean, especially this European Union, the West, the relations with the West have been really toxic these days in Turkey. Literally, I don't think, unless we have a normalization, democratization process, this can basically be fixed in a way. And also probably it's going to depend on the come out of the European parliamentary elections, what the European Union is going to look like in the upcoming dates. I don't know, better than I do.
Yes, but I think still it makes sense to be more active, more visible here, rather than leaving the entire ground to AKP and the story they are telling, and also to show that Turkey is not only about AKP and President Erdogan. I think not only about foreign policy, but it also matters for the future of Turkey, I think, to make sure that the other part of Turkey is also well represented abroad. That's what I meant, basically.
Yeah. No, I mean, I see your point. So thank you, Murat, and thank you for everyone for joining us.
See you in the next episode then.
Yeah, see ya.